One moment, you're behind the wheel of a Ferrari, racing at 150 miles per hour. These are the soccer players who came dangerously close to losing their lives. For Cristiano Ronaldo, just 3 days after purchasing his dream car, a crash would change everything. On the morning of January 8, 2009, something unusual happened. Ronaldo's coach scheduled an early practice following Manchester United's heartbreaking defeat. His teammates were relying on him to show up, but he was nowhere to be seen. Ronaldo had overslept. When he finally woke up and saw the flood of notifications, he sprang out of bed. Missing practice was unacceptable to him. With only 20 minutes to get across the city, he knew he had no time to waste. And in his garage sat the one car that could get him there fast. Little did he know, getting behind the wheel that morning would be a decision he would never forget. In his garage sat the one car that could get him there in time. But what he didn't realize was that getting behind the wheel would be one of the biggest mistakes of his life. Ronaldo was just beginning to make a name for himself, yet now, he found himself standing beside a completely wrecked Ferrari. The fact that he walked away without a single scratch was nothing short of a miracle. From that moment on, he made a vow to dedicate himself entirely to football and cement his place as the greatest player to ever step onto the field. Ironically, Lionel Messi's pursuit of greatness nearly cost him his life. In 2017, he was about to play one of the most crucial matches of his career, Barcelona versus Juventus in a highly anticipated Champions League showdown. With Juventus leading 3-0 from the first leg, Messi knew that only an extraordinary performance could keep Barcelona in the tournament. As he stepped onto the pitch, he was ready for anything. Or at least, that's what he thought. Or so he thought. Throughout the first half, both teams fought relentlessly, knowing that their legacies were on the line. A spot in the semi-finals was at stake, and neither side was willing to back down. They battled with everything they had: blood, sweat, and determination. Yet, despite their efforts, not a single goal was scored. Then, just before halftime, Messi made one final, high-risk play. But that decision nearly cost him everything. Doctors later revealed that if he had landed just 2 millimeters higher, his neck injury could have been fatal. Though Barcelona lost the match, Messi walked away as a very lucky man. But not all near tragedies happen on the field. For Mateus Silva, it was a vacation that nearly ended his life. In 2017, just before the 4th of July, Silva and his teammates were looking to celebrate. They wanted to make the most of the holiday, so they planned a trip to Lake Tahoe to enjoy the beach. They had no idea that things were about to take a terrifying turn. Since it was the 4th of July, they knew the beach would be packed, and with a game scheduled later that day, they decided to get there early, around 6 a.m. What they didn't know was that things were about to take a terrifying turn. That morning, the squad piled into the same car, cranked up the music, and hit the road, hyped for a day of fun. But the moment they arrived at the beach, something unexpected happened. Silva lost all self-control. The sight of the sand and water instantly brought out his inner child. Without a second thought, he took off running straight toward the lake and dove in. For a moment, it was almost cinematic. The sunlight bouncing off the water, Silva swimming effortlessly, looking like a scene straight out of a Michael Phelps highlight reel. His teammates stood back, watching as he made it all the way to the buoys. Then, suddenly, it happened. Out of nowhere, Silva started screaming for help. At first, his friends thought he was just messing around, until he disappeared beneath the surface. Their hearts sank. Panic set in as they sprinted toward the water, diving in without hesitation. But by the time they reached Silva, it was too late. He wasn't breathing. No pulse. Desperate, they dragged him back to shore, hoping for a miracle. That's when a lifeguard rushed over and immediately began CPR. But it wasn't working. There was only one option left. 911, what's your emergency? 2 days later, Silva finally woke up, dazed and confused. That's when doctors confirmed the shocking truth: he had been in a coma. The freezing water had sent his body into shock, stopping his heart the moment he hit the lake. If his friends hadn't been there, he wouldn't have made it. After news broke that Silva would recover, his teammate, Chris Wondolowski, honored him in their next game, wearing Silva's number 38 and even scoring a goal in his name. Nearly drowning is a memory that stays with you forever. But not even making it to your first birthday. That was Neymar's reality. What happened in 1992 left him with scars, both physical and emotional. At just 4 months old, Neymar was in the car with his parents, traveling to visit relatives. But what started as a routine drive quickly turned into a nightmare. While making their way through the mountains of Brazil, an intense storm rolled in out of nowhere. This wasn't just a passing drizzle, it was a torrential downpour so heavy they could barely see the road ahead. Then, suddenly, headlights. A car came straight at them. Neymar's father tried to swerve, but there was no time. The collision was brutal, leaving everyone in the vehicle injured. The impact had been so severe that Neymar was nowhere to be found. Panic took over as his father frantically searched, inside the car, on the street, in the bushes. Nothing. Then, a faint cry. His father followed the sound, looking under the driver's seat, and there he was. Neymar, just a baby, covered in blood from a deep cut on his head caused by shattered glass. There was no time to think. The family rushed him to the hospital, praying he would survive. Neymar had come face to face with death before he was even old enough to understand it. When his father finally heard the doctors say he would be okay, all he could do was thank God. From that moment on, he believed his son was truly blessed. But as terrifying as Neymar's accident was, it's nothing compared to the constant danger Angel Di Maria faces, living every day with a target on his back. Lately, things had taken a terrifying turn. People weren't just targeting Angel Di Maria, they were coming after his entire family. At the start of 2021, Di Maria and his PSG teammates were riding high. The team was off to a strong start, silencing critics who had doubted them. But many still believed their success was just a fluke. Determined to prove otherwise, PSG entered a highly anticipated match with everything to play for. By halftime, they were up 1-0, and everything seemed to be going their way. Then, out of nowhere, chaos erupted. In the 62nd minute, players' phones started blowing up. The sheer volume of calls was alarming. And before anyone could make sense of it, Di Maria was suddenly pulled from the game and escorted out of the stadium. Something was seriously wrong. It turned out that while he was on the field, criminals had targeted his home. They had been waiting for the perfect opportunity, and the moment they confirmed he was playing, they made their move. The criminals knew game day was the perfect opportunity, and they seized it. While Angel Di Maria was on the field, his wife and 2 daughters were home alone. That's when the intruders broke in, holding them hostage as they ransacked the house. They grabbed anything valuable in sight, but their biggest score, Di Maria's entire $600,000 jewelry collection. Then, just like a scene out of Grand Theft Auto, they jumped into a getaway car and vanished. What made it even worse? This wasn't the first time his home had been targeted. After that terrifying incident, Di Maria had no choice. He immediately hired security. This was no longer just about protecting himself. It was about keeping his family safe. So guys, if you find our video interesting then please subscribe Satifo for more. Thanks for watching.